Welcome. And I think to get us just started, we can do a short warm-up just to allow everyone to participate. And I'm just sharing my screen. I don't know if you're able to see, there's a poll there. And the question is very simple. Which region are you joining us from? Okay, Asia Pacific, Europe, I see, Africa. Okay. Okay, now there's competition between Asia, Pacific, and Africa. Yes, we see Arab states. I think Latin America is still quite early for them, maybe midnight. But yeah, great to see representation of all the regions. And then the next question is, what is your role in the TVET ecosystem? And I see we have educators here, we have policymakers, we have NGO and representatives, and we have others. And we don't have any students yet. Okay, so maybe another minute for you to change your mind, see where you belong, whether you're an educator or policymaker. And really good to see, this is always very helpful to see the diversity of the room so that we can structure the conversations to fit the room and the participants that we have. So thank you so much. I don't want to take any more time on this, but I want to really get started on this by saying, welcome everyone. You can see, I don't know if you're able to see the results now. I'm sharing the results. And fantastic. So without further ado, let us get started. Yes, let's get started. And the first thing I want to say is thank you so much for joining us. This day is a very special day for UNESCO-UNEVOC. It's a special day for our partners, members who've been working closely with us in the development of these two documents that we're going to launch today. So stay tuned for a lot of information, opportunities that will be shared later in the end on how you can participate. And I'm looking forward to getting your feedback on what you think about these two documents and whether you're willing to continue working with us as we move ahead. And to get us started, I don't want to preempt the conversation. To get us started, let's hear some welcoming remarks. And the first person to invite all of us and to welcome and to launch this guide is our UNESCO head, UNESCO-UNEVOC head, who is Mr. Friedrich Huebler. He's going to give short welcoming remarks. Over to you, Huebler.
Thank you, Priscilla. And also for me, again, welcome to the official launch of two new publications by UNESCO-UNEVOC on inclusive technical and vocational education and training. So I'm Friedrich Huebler. I'm the head of UNESCO-UNEVOC. And the mission of UNESCO-UNEVOC is to strengthen TVET systems around the world and to promote acquisition of skills for decent work and sustainable development. Now, inclusion is really central to our work and to the 2030 agenda for sustainable development, which aims to leave no one behind. Priscilla just mentioned that we have a very diverse group of participants here in this meeting. And in fact, today happens to be the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development, which is held every year on the 21st of May. So this seems a very opportune day to launch two new important resources. The first one is a guide with the title Inclusion in TVET, a practical guide for formal, non-formal and informal institutions. And the second one is a discussion paper with the title Practical Approaches to Increase Inclusion of Migrants and Refugees in TVET in the Arab States. The practical guide offers strategies for building inclusive TVET system, and it draws for this on real-world experiences and highlights the importance of collaboration among education providers, private sector actors, NGOs, and other TVET stakeholders to ensure that no learner is left behind. The discussion paper, developed in a partnership with UNRWA, is very timely and relevant and focuses on promising practices and policy recommendations to increase the inclusion of migrants and refugees in the Arab states. We believe that both of these publications have the potential to make a meaningful impact on TVET institutions worldwide. They aim to promote equitable access to education and training for all, especially for disadvantaged and marginalized groups. Both are also very practical and written with TVET practitioners in mind. And we encourage all of you to explore the approaches outlined in these documents and to adapt them to your own needs and contexts. I want to emphasize that the work of UNESCO-UNEVOC does not end with this launch. We hope for continued collaboration with you and all of our partners to advance inclusion in TVET. Before I close, I want to take the opportunity to express our sincere appreciation to everyone who made these publications possible. It's starting with the authors and reviewers whose insights helped shape the quality and relevance of the content. Then there are institutions from Cameroon, Laos, PDR, Mauritius, Nigeria, Tanzania, and Vietnam that participated in pilot projects to inform the development of the practical guide on inclusive TVET. Our partners at UNRWA and institutions in Gaza, Lebanon, and Jordan who collaborated and whose collaboration was instrumental in producing the discussion paper on the Arab states. Then there is the team at UNESCO-UNEVOC that coordinated the production of the two documents and that diligently promotes TVET for all. Finally, I want to thank all of you for being here today and for your engagement in this important dialogue. And as we move forward, I invite you to share your feedback and insights during today's discussion and to join us in making inclusive and equitable TVET a reality for every learner everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Friedrich. That was very encouraging and inspiring. I believe everyone is now aching to see what these documents are all about. And to take us through the next phase is going to be introductory remarks, also from our partner who's been very supportive in development of the second guide, the discussion paper. And this is Ms. Reem, Ms. Reem Jeibat. She is the Chief of the Technical Vocational Education and Training and the Youth Division at UNRWA. Welcome, Reem.
Welcome. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for this opportunity. We are very honored at UNRWA to be part of this excellent work. Really, it's a pleasure to welcome all of you into this very, very important event that it is marking really a significant milestone in our collective journey towards having inclusion in our technical and vocational education. Really, these documents, the excellent work that has been done, our collaboration with UNESCO-UNEVOC has been very, very fruitful. And this is culmination of dedicated efforts and the collaboration between us and UNESCO-UNEVOC, and the beginning. And this also marks the beginning, actually, for a deeper and shared commitment towards inclusion in our technical and vocational education. We all have the role to contribute, and no matter where we are, inclusion is really would make a big difference for the youth, for the people we serve. Wherever we are, it's really having equal access to equality, having quality skills building and training for the young youth and persons, especially persons with disability and in marginalized places and everywhere across all the world. It's also of a special interest, and it's also becoming more importantly as we see the many challenges we are facing in the region and the conflicts and everything. It's really key that we all contribute, no matter where we are, into this important work and agenda. The documents we are launching, it's not only a documents, we see them as a very excellent work that has been done by our colleagues, and it really would bring an inspiration for policymakers, for practitioners, and would bring insights. And this requires also the collaborative work would be for all of us, really all of us, to really join our efforts, collaboration in terms of moving this forward towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals and into progressing towards inclusion. And this will be, I'm sure this is, there will be, it's a long road. We will face so many challenges, we know, but there is a lot of potential, and we have learned a lot from this experience. And there are so many lessons learned that are also outlined in those very fruitful and rich documents that we are launching today. It's also, I would like just to highlight the things that very important in terms of the leadership of institutional commitment, the training of the staff. It makes a big difference and a real difference. The partnership with industry is also important. We understand that we alone, we cannot make a difference. It's all about how we work all together in terms of achieving something really meaningful and for all the youth. And most importantly, listening to the voices of the learners and what they need, and ensuring that this is adapted, taken into consideration in all of our programming. So I would like, with that, I would like really to express on behalf of my colleagues at UNRWA and all the team, how much we value this collaboration with you. Thank you so much for this opportunity and for giving us the chance to be part of this amazing, impressive work. Thank you so much, Friedrich, Lini, Priscilla, really, thank you, and all the team who has been working so hard in terms of getting this work for the use of everyone. I encourage everyone to take the opportunity of this today discussion and share your insights and reflect and take this back to you and see how you can move ahead and support wherever you are our learners towards more inclusion in TVET. Thank you so much. Over to you, Priscilla. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and for highlighting that important aspect that this is a journey. We're just getting started, and I believe we will continue to scale up on the projects that we started on, and continually see how we can continue to promote inclusion within our institutions. So we're going to go quickly into the next session, and I will be sharing my screen here. As we get started to see the highlights of this document that we are talking about. So just to get started, I can give you a little bit of background of how these papers and this specifically for this inclusion guide was developed. So it's been a very long journey. We started this journey around 2022, and the ideas we had about promoting inclusion, we had approaches and modalities that we saw were very important, but we wanted to see how they're actually going to be applied in the context, different contexts of our members, and we wanted to see whether they are relevant on the work that we're doing. And this is how the journey started. And from this journey, I've contacted many of you on different occasions on how to start initiating processes and projects within inclusion. And what we see, ladies and gentlemen, is that we are actually going through a revolution. We are living a revolution right now. On one hand, we see that crises, wars, and other political unrest, including economic issues, are actually coming very close to activities that we do day to day. And on the other hand, we are seeing the issues relating to AI, fourth industrial revolution, we have artificial intelligence, and at the same time, we are sitting on the climate change issues. So we have many diversing issues that are happening globally, and this has led to increased numbers of people who are excluded from education system. So if you look at the numbers that we are looking at UNESCO-UNEVOC, we see globally that the number of young people who are not in education, they're not in employment, and they're not in training is increasing day by day, including around 32%. We're seeing the literacy levels and deficiencies of numbers becoming more and more youth are getting unemployed. We have exclusion where people who have disabilities, people who have different kinds of disadvantages are excluded from the education system. So what is true and what we can see today and we can highlight as the rationale of inclusive TVET is, number one, that we believe that education can solve unfair distribution of knowledge. And the second thing we're seeing is that as access improves, divides in education deepen. So inclusion is not just about equity, it's also about, it's about equity and not just about access. And then we see that the more marginalized a community is, the worse the quality of education. So we are saying that there's a lot of access in TVET. We see so many people have joined TVET institutions, but it does not mean that they are included into the education system. There are still many barriers that learners are going through. They struggle with the traditional methodologies of learning. And most importantly, what we're seeing is that teachers, almost a third of teachers globally, can actually attest to the fact that they don't have the knowledge, including pedagogical knowledge and preparedness to provide support to diverse learners. And these are some of the things that we are looking at and seeing how best can TVET institutions, how best can you and I work to promote inclusion in TVET. And I want to segue into a story, and this is, we all know about the founder, the founder and the CEO of the Virgin Group. This is Mr. Branson. Richard Branson was actually and is dyslexic. So when he was growing up, he went to school and he was deemed as lazy, very slow learner, and someone who was not able to continue with school. And he suffered academically so much in terms of ability to really pass exams as the typical metrics of education is. So with a lot of work, support from the parents, he was able to utilize what was a disadvantage to him to creativity. So for him, he was not able to read properly or to articulate things by talking, but he was able to write. He was able to come up with ideas and provide a lot of clarity on ideas. And this is how he was able to become an innovative and very inventful person that we know today. And his story is not just a separate story, but we're seeing the same stories across other leaders. For example, we know Steve Jobs was also dyslexic. We know Muhammad Ali was suffering from also dyslexia and ADHD, and many other challenges that we see that some leaders have actually gone through. But now when you talk to Branson, I was listening to his podcast, and he said what was seen as a disadvantage to him, being dyslexic, is actually what made him a superpower. He says his dyslexia was his superpower. And now it brings the question to us, how can we transform disadvantage into superpowers? How can we transform the challenges and the barriers that we see from each person, each learner in our institution into something that can be useful into development of economies and, of course, ensuring that young people thrive? And this is the answer to that. So we are looking and saying that inclusion is not something that you wish for. You cannot just wish to become a better person in delivery. But at the end of the day, it's about the support systems. It's about becoming very intentional about the support that you want to offer and really trying to understand where you're at in terms of inclusiveness and forging forward to developing practices that make every learner to be more inclusive. So I'm going to give a short snippet into the guide, and we're going to share the links with you so that you can start utilizing these products. And what this guide is about, it actually provides a very informative and comprehensive way, step-by-step approach in which you can start inclusive processes within your TVET institutions. So the first thing is to look at the teachers. You ask yourself, how do you have enough understanding of what inclusion is in terms of what it entails and where you get started? And the guide provides the opportunity for you to build a shared understanding within your TVET institutions on a common framework of what inclusivity is all about. Then the next chapter focuses more on identifying exclusion and barriers. So in this chapter, we look and say, who is excluded from education and what barriers do they face? We see a lot of barriers. Young people who come to our institutions, they face 3 types of barriers. We have personal barriers, we have institutional barriers, as well as societal barriers. So how do we identify who is excluded, where they're excluded, and what barriers they face so that you can forge and craft better methodologies to support them? And then we look at chapter 3, which focuses mostly on conducting initial assessment. So you evaluate your current inclusive practices within your institutions and ask yourself, where are we going to get started on? If we evaluate the number of students that you have, how many of them fall under a particular group who are at risk of exclusion, and how many of them require additional support that you may provide? So once you get to understand this, based on evidence and numbers and the data that you have, you can now start developing and implementing inclusive strategies that I outlined on chapter 4, and most importantly, it's about how to get started. So we know, as Reem has said, that inclusion is a journey. You don't just change what has been very fundamental, something that has been ongoing for a long time with one step, but what we are promoting and what we are emphasizing and has been the success of this guide is pilot projects. And we say that pilot projects allow you to get started on the small items that you can start tackling within your institutions that provide the highest amount of impact that you can scale up later as you go along. So within the guide, those are the key fundamental aspects that we're looking into, and we're looking at the learner's journey. So the learner's journey is an interesting phase where we look at 6 fundamental areas that the learners interact. So this is the interaction between the education institution itself, the teachers, policy, as well as the students. So it starts with access, program selection, and enrollment. That is the first contact of institutions and policy and students when they join the TVET institution. So what are the barriers within these spaces? Then they move to recognition of prior learning, they move to training, delivery, they have learner support, assessment, and certification. And in the end, they transition into the world of work as well as higher education. So the guide really focuses on 4 fundamental areas, which are the key methodologies. There are so many ways you can look at it, but we saw that the most important ways are, number 1, enabling equitable access and participation. So if that is sorted, then we can go into diverse delivery and assessment. So this is how do you ensure that you use different methodologies for different learners who have different types of needs. So this is where we focus on really coming close to understanding what are the fundamentals of inclusion in that respect. And then in the end, it's about outcomes. Inclusion cannot be called inclusion in TVET when it does not lead to positive outcomes on decent jobs. So it's not just about going through education system, but it's about providing quality so that someone becomes a useful member of the community. And lastly, it's about partnerships and collaborations. So these are the fundamental key areas in which inclusion is. And one of the findings that we saw when we were talking to different and diverse partners, we found that there is no specific definition of inclusion because it depends on the context in which you're looking into and the variety of diverse needs that your institution focuses on. But as UNESCO-UNEVOC, we have a working definition in which we say inclusive TVET is a system that meets the needs of all learners. And we emphasize all because it's not about segregating one particular group to give them support, but it's about integrating everyone and mainstreaming inclusion into every activity that you do in your institution. So regardless of their social background, gender, level of achievement, ethnicity, disability, migration status, etc., it's about meeting the needs of all learners. All means all, and that has been the foundation of this. So through this learner's journey, as a TVET institution, as a teacher, as an instructor, there are key things that you will find out as you explore how this interaction happen. So number one we say is which learners at risk of exclusion. That is something that you can map out. And there's some tools that can help you to map out that in the guide. And then at the second point is at what point on the learner's journey might they be excluded and what needs to be done? And then the other aspect is what causes them to be excluded. So which are these barriers and how can you tackle them? And then once you know that, what can be done to prevent them being excluded? So those are the key questions that we ask along the learner's journey. And one thing that has been very instrumental and what we see is the reality is that the work of inclusion cannot be left into the institution alone. It cannot be achieved by a TVET institution alone. It cannot be achieved by the government alone. It cannot be achieved by teachers alone. And this is something that we need to really make it very popular because we look at a whole system approach. Who is going to be the important partners within transitioning your institution from what it is currently to becoming a more inclusive and robust system? So we are looking at this conceptual framework, which puts the learner's journey in the middle of the framework and really looks at different opportunities to work with different partners. And this is the partner aspect that comes in. It actually highlights that to effectively address the barriers of access, participation, as well as transition into the world of work, we must first assess the entire TVET ecosystem. And this includes vertically across the levels of education and government, so the vertical integration of it, as well as the horizontal integration. And we're looking at sectors that are relevant within the inclusion framework, as well as the partners that we can work with. So key to partners, as you can imagine, is the parents. The parents play an important role in promoting inclusion, as well as the community and the community leaders, depending on where you're coming from, and government as well. And when you look at sectors, we're looking at opportunities to leverage the ongoing activities within NGOs and different sectors that promote people and individuals who are at risk of exclusion. We have seen different modalities of which the social and the labor sectors can support in inclusion, including aspects such as labor market programs. You know, we have programs like social safety nets within different countries. We have programs that provide incentives for refugees and migrants. So these are the sectors that we need to optimize when it comes to working with partners to promote inclusion in your institutions. So this guide really provides this as a framework, as the initial understanding of how you can now separate and really disaggregate these aspects to ensure that inclusion is a reality in your institution. So I want to really focus on some of the examples of the themes that came out from the work from the work that we did with the pilots. As we said, we had almost 10 institutions participating in these pilot projects from different countries. And these are some of the themes that we highlighted from the pilot projects and examples that you can start thinking about or initiating in your institution. So number one of the key themes that is highlighted in the guide and is as a result of the work that pilot institutions did is number one is using torchbearers and champions to promote inclusive TVET. So these are students who have already gone through the inclusion aspects. They are now used to promote further inclusion within the institutions. So that was one of the institutions who did that. Then there's another one about building an institutional roadmap to inclusive TVET. So another institution focused on institutional roadmap. Then there's gathering and using quality data to promote inclusive TVET. So you cannot provide support when you don't understand where the gap is. And for you to know the gap, you need to look into the data that exists within your institution. Then another aspect is about using basic indicators to inform program planning in inclusive TVET institutions. So these are basic indicators, which are the low basic indicators that you can have as a standard as you work towards becoming fully inclusive. Then there was developing and delivering sensitive training in inclusive TVET. So this is training within the institution. You train the teachers, they train the support workers within the institution. You support the community, parents, and NGOs, train them about inclusion. What does inclusion mean to them, and why they should be part of this journey? And then another aspect about is linking excluded trainees directly into traineeship, apprenticeships, as well as internships. So this is one of the institutions that focused on this, because the barrier for their institution was mostly on the transition from school to work. Then there was another who worked on conducting roadshows and on-site visits. So this was more about providing advocacy and visibility of different learners who are excluded, to show that they are actually competent and reliable in the kind of work that they are going to join. Another institution also focused on establishing operational partnerships with external stakeholders. So the keyword here is operational, because we have many partners, but as you can imagine, the stakeholders challenge is that not all partners are operational. So how do you approach operational partners, and how do you forge these relationships? That is also covered in the guide. And then the other aspect is about promoting TVET to disadvantaged youth through TVET tester program. So this is another institution that focused on showing students what are the opportunities within endangered courses within the institutions, and how they can start working on that. Another institution also focused on connecting refugees learners to cash for training schemes, as well as psychosocial services. So this is going beyond the typical training, but providing very focused psychosocial support for different kinds of needs. And another institution also focused on implementing accelerated learning boot camps. So these are boot camps to really only train on specific sector skilling that can promote inclusion of disadvantaged groups within their TVET institution. So I will not dwell into much into the centers, but I can give just as an initial indication of which these centers were and what they worked in. But you can see the diversity of institutions was very varied and vast, and we'll continue to check and see how best we can work with different partners to promote inclusion and make it a reality. So before I conclude, I would like to talk about the important and the underlying principles of which this inclusion guide is about. So as we can imagine, inclusion is not just something that you start and then stop. It's actually a framework that we have to integrate and mainstream in all activities that happen. It's an intentionality, it's a strategy, because at the end of the day, students who feel supported, empowered, respected, seen, and valued, they tend to perform better. Institutions that prioritize inclusion, they perform better than institutions that don't. And to really understand how to get started, this is the guide that is going to support you. And we're looking forward to opportunities to work with you all on promoting inclusion. And in the end, we can all come out and say that all the students that we worked with were able to thrive because of the work that we did as teachers, educators, trainers, policymakers, students as well, and all the members who are joining us today. So I will stop there and allow us to view a short video that was developed as a result of this project for you to really grasp and understand what the practical guide includes. Let's see the video.
Technical and vocational education training, TVET, whether formal, non-formal, or informal, has the power to transform lives. It provides skills for employment, empowers individuals, and supports inclusive economic growth. However, many learners continue to face barriers. Factors such as poverty, disability, language, gender disparities, and migration status often limit access to opportunities within TVET programs. Despite its potential, TVET is not always fully inclusive. Many institutions lack the necessary policies, resources, partnerships, and staff training to ensure equal participation for all learners. So, how can we change this? UNESCO-UNEVOC has developed a guide on inclusion in TVET to support TVET providers and stakeholders in initiating and strengthening inclusive approaches and modalities within their programs and institutions. True inclusion in TVET means meeting the needs of all learners. It is grounded on 4 key principles: equitable access and participation, diverse delivery and assessment, operational partnerships and collaborations, skills development outcomes for decent work. Every learner, regardless of background, gender, ability, or circumstance, deserves an education that empowers them to thrive. Exclusion can occur at any stage of a learner's journey, from enrolling in a TVET program to transitioning into the workforce. Barriers may include inaccessible infrastructure, financial constraints, non-inclusive policies, lack of inclusive learning materials, and lack of tailored support, among others. To effectively address these challenges, we must first assess the entire TVET ecosystem, vertically, across levels of education and government, and horizontally, between public, private, and civil society actors. UNESCO-UNEVOC's practical guide offers actionable strategies for building inclusive TVET institutions. It goes beyond identifying what needs to be done and focuses on how it can be achieved. The guide offers a self-assessment tool based on the 4A framework: availability, accessibility, acceptability, and adaptability. By identifying institutional strengths and gaps, TVET providers can develop targeted roadmaps to better support disadvantaged learners. Inclusion requires intentional action. TVET institutions can implement concrete strategies to create a more inclusive environment, such as embedding inclusion into national and institutional policies, raising awareness among teachers, learners, and communities, applying universal design for learning principles, providing mentoring and tailored learner support services, adopting inclusive assessment methods, developing inclusive institutional cultures, building capacity of staff and stakeholders, forming operational partnerships and linking with social protection schemes such as active labor market programs. Pilot projects across various countries have demonstrated that inclusive TVET is achievable. These initiatives have led to raised awareness, strengthened policies, and enhanced institutional capacity. However, inclusion is not a one-time effort. It is an ongoing process. The inclusion journey starts now. Use UNESCO-UNEVOC's practical guide on inclusion in TVET to transform your institution. Together, we can ensure that every learner is valued, seen, respected, supported, and empowered. Start small, scale up strategically, and share your story with us.
Absolutely. I think that really captures what the guide is all about, and I can see people are already excited about the guide and look forward to really getting to see. I would want to invite most of you to start sending questions if you have, so that we can start talking, we can start discussing, and the dialogue can continue regarding inclusion and the challenges that you face. But just to hear from the partners who've been working with, especially who were implementing pilot projects, I'd like to first of all invite one of our centers. This is the Mauritius Institute of Training. Yes, Mauritius Institute of Training and Development, MITD from Mauritius. We have our esteemed speaker, who is Ms. Kosheema Beegoo, and is the training officer at MITD. She will talk about their initiative and maybe give us insights on what you need to get started on as an institution. Welcome, Ms. Kosheema.
So good morning, it's Kosheema Beegoo from MITD. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. That's right. So today I'm going to talk about the institutional roadmap for promoting inclusiveness of autistic youth through TVET programs and employment initiatives. But MITD is coming forward. I'm having an issue with my internet.
It says that you have paused screen sharing.
Yeah, I'm sharing my screen. It's good. Now it's okay.
Now
Yes.
we can see it, yes.
Yeah, that's fine. So today, these have been our objective in our roadmap for promoting inclusiveness of autistic youth through TVET programs in MITD. So this, this is what we're going to delve all through the presentation today. And so the relevance to UNESCO-UNEVOC practical guide, so which you're going to see again in the slide. Now, in line with the project's objective of making TVET institution more inclusive, the MITD has identified youngsters having mild to moderate autism spectrum. So how we came about the mild to moderate autism is that we met several industry, the stakeholders, the industries, people giving training to autistic trainees, and all the companies which could recruit also our trainees. So then we realized we were not experts in the field, but it's new to MITD to bring in autistic training. So then we decided it will be only mild to moderate autistic ASD students that will join the course. So recognizing the unique characteristic and needs of autistic individuals, the approach to vocational training has been carefully adapted so that to ensure their successful inclusion, to minimize the risk of exclusion for the mainstream TVET pathway. Now, we had to consider a number of things. We had to focus on identifying the specific strengths and abilities of autistic youth, and then aligning them with jobs that are both suitable and meaningful. Now, after meeting the stakeholders, we had to decide like what type of jobs would be best suited for those trainees. So we came up with jobs like technician, web design, they could edit photos, videos, or doing PC assembly and disassembly. So this is what we recognize. So we had to take some consideration for that. Pre-vocational training, many autistic youth may require preparatory support before entering formal vocational programs. Indeed, because in Mauritius, many autistic trainees are not already going to school. Many are not going to school. Many are going to school, some are not going to school. So for those who do not have a minimum literacy and numeracy level, so then we have to send them for a pre-vocational training to be able to join the autistic training course at our end. So this includes foundational training in communication, social interaction, self-regulation, and daily living skills. These are essential to help them integrate into the world of work confidently. Then we had to find life skill coaches or mentors during the initial stages to provide critical support to them. These professionals can guide the youth as they transition. Now they'll be moving from training from their house maybe, or their school, secondary school. When they come to MITD, then they have to be in the job. So we have to have mentors to follow them all through the process. So MITD started its project. We are now in autistic. Now we have to train our trainers because our trainers do not know how to deal with autistic children. So MITD trained 16 trainers in July 2024. So that's SENA, which is also partnering with us, following us all through the process of autistic training till we start autistic training, or all through the training at our end. SENA, Special Education Needs Authority, has been together with us in this journey, this endeavor. All right, so this program, we have our trainers already received the training. Now they are ready for the training. So these are our industry collaborators. So we have NGOs which are partnering with us, SENA and SIF, National Social Inclusion Foundation, Autism Maurice, and many other NGOs and many other organizations are helping us to succeed in our endeavor. So after meeting all these stakeholders, we realized that we built up the program structure. in IT, where we'll be doing digital literacy, means we're doing Word, Excel, PowerPoint. We should be able to do emailing. Web design, we should be able to design websites, build multimedia applications, right? We should be able to do video editing, photo editing, PC hardware, like installation of software, or PC assembly and disassembly. Because autistic trainees, they do not like to socialize a lot, but hands-on skills is going to help them work better in their environment. So this is what we're going to do as program structure. Now this is the building that you see right now. This is the building that we're going to transform for our autistic training. So we're going to have one computer room, one dancing space, one painting room, a space for agriculture, one psychiatrist room, a space to receive parents, one room for carers, and one sensory room. So we are located in Iman, Mauritius, just in the middle of the country. And it is it's very appropriate because we have transport that we are easily accessible all through the country because we are just in the middle of the country. Now, the direction that we took I've been in this project since January 2023. So UNESCO-UNEVOC Autistic Idea here started. I still remember it was January 2023. Then in July 2024, we had the trainers training. Then we started working on the program structure. And then we started working for the infrastructure for autistic training, which is still not ready because we still have some adjustment to make in the building because we are right now in a transition. That's why it just took a slightly longer period. And we ought to start the course in August 2025. Now, the outcome goals is that we have to empower those autistic youth to achieve economic independence because their parents will not always be there for them. So we have to, they should be able financially independent. They should be able to buy things. They should be able to travel. They should be able to work and get a salary at the end of a month. So to secure employment as we gain relevant skills for a growing digital workforce, foster social inclusion and economic participation, and then support them for lifelong learning and personal development. Now, the challenges. We have had a few challenges because it's not easy to start an autistic course. A lot of awareness is still, we are having to make a lot of awareness so that people know that this autistic course is going to help their children to make them employed. We have advertised on several occasions. And we still now, till today, we haven't received a minimum number of participants. We've received only 12 applications, out of which 6 applications we can consider for the autistic training. Well, out of the 6, one said he's not, has opted out, so he's not going to do the course. So we are left with 5. But at least our minimum batch should be 10 so that we can start the course. So we are still waiting for a few more applications. So we are NGOs also will be sending us more applications. We are dealing with them. And why some of the applications is not appropriate, because some of them, the students do not have the minimum literacy and numeracy level. They haven't gone to school. They cannot write. They cannot talk. They cannot write, we can't do any addition. So that's the problem. That's why those applications, and some of the applications, those who have applied, they're not autistic. So we don't want to mix autistic with non-autistic students. So that's why we have only 5, which we can go forward for this course. Now, for this specialized infrastructure and resources, autism-friendly learning environments would require sensory-friendly classrooms, specialized equipment, and this demands significant investment. So all this is taking us some extra time. So spaces need to be designed with low noise, calming colors, and structured layouts to minimize sensory overload. So that's what we're going to have in that new building. So funding and budget constraint, it's establishing a dedicated center requires financial support, and securing consistent funding is indeed a challenge. And now trainers require additional skills also in a neurodiverse education. So we were also thinking if a few days per week at an autism school to understand if we could send those trainers, we're going to train the trainees to an autism school so that they could understand the students' nature and adaptation to ease the training when the training starts. So thank you very much for your attention. So any questions? So thank you very much. That was my presentation.
Thank you so much, Kosheema. I think you provided a lot of insight on how you started the journey on inclusion of autistic young adults into your institution. And I believe we're going to see more on how you scale up on this. So I believe the audience are able to see and to learn a few things. And we remain open in terms of collaboration and anyone who wants also to be supported in that space. So thank you so much. But in the interest of time, I will not take the questions now and really just go straight into the next presentation, which is going to also be a very short presentation as well, because we're seeing the time is running a bit. So I just want to invite the next speaker, and the next speaker is from Nigeria. So the speaker is from an institution called the Federal Polytechnic of Ilaro, and his name is Dr. Olasunkanmi Olapeju. He is the Director of Training and Development at the Federal Polytechnic of Ilaro. Welcome, and please, if you can do 5 or so minutes, that will be appreciated. Those who are still sending questions, please go ahead, send the questions. We'll be able to answer some of them when we can. And we'll do that towards the end of the presentation. Over to you, Mr. Olapeju.
Thank you very much, everyone. Good morning from the side of the world. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. First and foremost, on behalf of my institution, Federal Polytechnic Ilaro, I want to appreciate UNESCO-UNEVOC for giving us this opportunity to have a shared experience of what inclusive TVET is all about. We are quite grateful. On behalf of my team and the institution, I'm quite grateful. The project we actually backed upon in furtherance of the universal project is titled Inclusion of the Girl Child in Endangered Engineering-Based Artisanal Jobs. And our project was actually premised on one fundamental issue, and that's number one, the fact that we observed a gender-inclusive disinterest in TVET-related issues in a part of the world. And of course, the disinterest is more, disproportionately felt when it comes to the female gender. So we felt there's a way we can actually titillate interest of the female gender by organizing a tester project. And of course, the objective of that project is to actually enhance inclusion of the girl child in endangered engineering-based artisanal jobs like automobile, repair. And of course, another objective is to actually disrupt existing stereotypes against female gender and increase understanding how to develop TVET training, products, and services to the economy. And
can you go into full screen mode with the presentation, please? Sorry to interrupt, but that way we can see better.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And obviously, looking at the background that we had an economy where there's massive unemployment and most opportunities in the civil sector, most opportunities in the vocational technical sector are actually been taken away by foreigners. We feel that is actually going to do well to the economy if the female gender that is actually stereotyped as being not suitable for the kind of opportunities in the civil sector are quite included to empowering them and to actually making them more actively involved in the economy and providing jobs ultimately. So we were able to design our interventions around two basic deliverables, and that's sensitization, program for managers and teachers of TVET-based of technology-based subjects in schools within the students community. And we also targeted female students from selected schools through automobile mechanical training. And at the end of the day, the relevance of the UNESCO, intervention to the practical guide is number one. The participatory interrogations of TVET with TVET managers and teachers afford shared understanding of the issues, opening up of issues that might otherwise have been closed up, and also help for the democratization of what the sustainable waste forward should be, because we actually, in all the 3 workshops that we organized for the managers and teachers, we ensured that we were not actually just leading the conversation. We ensured there was that shared understanding of the issues. It was more like a focus group discussion. We were able to open up the issues and actually get practical insight from people who are actually on the field, who have probably more even experience than us when it comes to the peculiarities and context nuances that we couldn't have actually figured out unless we got, the ideas insight from those who are actually playing the role. And of course, that is something that we recommend, when it comes to actually understanding the real use and knowing where to actually target. And obviously, we also observe that beyond targeting just managers and TVET-based teachers, an important lesson which is also relevant to the UNESCO-UNEVOC practical is that efforts should be made at providing practical directions for managers who expect to implement the programs in their schools and offer the context for continuity and sustainability of project. Of course, this could be achieved through the practical impartition of students by external stakeholders to inspire interest in students. One thing that we did was that we did not just rely on our own internal resources in terms of manpower, in terms of facilities. We're also able to consummate partnership with external stakeholders who actually came to actually directly impact students. In our own case, we actually involved external stakeholders in the automobile industry, the informal sector of the automobile industry, who actually came and actually exposed our target to hands-on practical training in the automobile. Don't forget, I told you that proud that we also expose students to starting test activities. We expose the students to drones flying, because most of the students, pupils, were actually underaged. We wanted to actually expose them to driving skills. Then we found an alternative in simulations, in the driving simulation laboratory. All of these were to prepare them mentally, to the actual projects of exposure to automobile repair. And we also, another important thing to note is that girls are better motivated and feel important when they are provided customized overhauls, footwear and logical support because of being exposed to training activities that are supposedly masculine in nature. As you can see here, most of the girls are quite excited with this sartorial, hat looks, and of course, they were also afforded tools. We actually bought tools, and all of these have actually been the motivating factor for them. At the end of the day, we have a situation where quite a sizable amount of the students, I think about 11 or thereabout, voluntarily actually registered with our external stakeholder. Most of them are actually in school, they're in formal school, but they feel this is also an alternative pathway to upward mobility. We let them now registered as trainees of one of our external stakeholders, and ever since we have been taking responsibility for monitoring their progress and covering logistics and chemicals required in the distance from where the where they currently live and the workstations of the external stakeholders represent the barrier. So we have had to be coming in to actually subsidize transportation costs and everything. At the end of the day, our institution hopes to sustain this drive and to essentially scale it up because this is the hope for TVET within our community, actually border community that is actually prone to quite a lot of influences, as is the melting pot of different kind of graphic activities. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. We want to appreciate UNESCO-UNEVOC for the great job we have been doing. From our management, we say thank you, and we want to collaborate more. We want to do more of this kind of projects with you. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be noticed and to be appreciated globally. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Olapeju, for that highlight and really telling us about how you were able to start changing the mindsets of girls into joining the automobile activities within Nigeria. Thank you so much. I'm going to just segue fast into the next presentation that comes from the Vocational Training Corporation in Jordan. They're also going to take us through a very short lessons learned kind of progress report on this before we now launch the next, we go to the next document. So I'm pleased to invite Mr. Youssef Abu Haida, who is the agricultural trainer at the Vocational Training Corporation in Jordan. Over to you.
Priscilla, I don't see Youssef here. Lenny, do you know more?
Okay, I think we can have that later, but now let's just go straight to the next presentation, which is the discussion paper on practical strategies, approaches, and modalities in TVET to increase inclusion of refugees and migrants. We're going to just go through the discussion paper now as the second part of this program. Look and see what is the paper about, what do we need to learn about the lessons? And I'm very pleased to invite one of our authors, who is Ms. Joyceline Alla-Mensah, to take us through this process. Over to you, Joyceline.
Hi, Priscilla.
Yeah, is going to start. Yeah.
I will start and then I will hand over to Joyceline. Thank you very much, everyone. And we are really privileged to be part of this conversation, and always good to speak after people who are working on the ground, and that's really privileged for us to hear. And thank you, everyone, for being here, working on this project. Of course, it was a long journey, Lenny and Priscilla can tell you, but it's been also a great learning experience for everyone. We've had the privilege to speak to many people across the Arab states. So we will briefly discuss the barriers and focus more on the analytical framework and the recommendations and the key findings. I'll quickly tell you a little bit about the questions that we began with. I think Youssef is here, Priscilla. Should we?
No, please go ahead. We'll come to that later.
Okay. So we wanted to understand the barriers faced by migrants and refugees in TVET. We wanted to examine promising practices and intervention at institutional level to include migrants and refugees in TVET in the Arab states, and highlight some of the recommendations for policy and practice areas. We started with a methodology to collect enrollment data, but that didn't work because of the time constraint and the regulation in different states. But I believe that the methodology we adopted has made us gain a deepened understanding through conversations with key informants in different Arab states and also in different sectors in TVET. While all the centers we engaged with are doing important work and commendable work, but the UNRWA centers stood out, demonstrating particularly strong leading practices in several key areas supporting refugees and migrants. The context in the Arab states: high number of forcibly displaced persons, regional instability, continues to drive displacement, urgency of inclusive TVET, systemic challenges. And we also looked into the general characteristics of TVET in the Arab states, and it was mainly the perception of TVET. The perception of TVET was negative across the Arab states, or not necessarily negative as much as it has a lower status as the academic pathways. The governance of TVET needed a little bit more shared responsibility, and also the quality of TVET provisions excluding the Gulf countries, the quality of public TVET provisions in countries such as Lebanon and Syria and Yemen are lower. The key barriers are legal and administrative constraints due to labeling of migrants and refugees, financial barriers, not necessarily to do with the fees for vocational education, but also equipment and transport to get to institutions. There is language and psychosocial challenges, especially in areas that border areas in Lebanon, labor market constraints, and lack of information and advice guidance when it comes to specific vocation and admission and who's eligible and who's not. My colleague Joyceline will continue from here.
All right, so for this discussion paper, we drew on Tomaszewski's 4A framework. Tomaszewski is the former UN Special Rapporteur on the right to education. And the 4A framework comprises 4 elements, which is availability, acceptability, accessibility, and adaptability. So availability is the specification of the rights of migrants and refugees in policy and legal documents. Accessibility is arrangements that helps to increase access for migrants and refugees and help them progress in and through vocational education and training. Examples include financial support. And acceptability generally relates to quality provision of vocational education and training. And adaptability is arrangements that make TVET respond to the unique needs of migrants and refugees. And this is a framework that we have used in previous studies and has also been used by UNEVOC in its capacity building activities. So with regards to availability, what we realized was that in many of the countries that we looked at, the rights of migrants and refugees appear in legal and policy documents. Example of these countries include Egypt and Jordan. However, these stipulations tend to be spread across different documents, which makes it very difficult to navigate and makes it difficult for stakeholders working with migrants and refugees to have awareness of what they're entitled to. And in this regard, we found a case study in Morocco, an example in Morocco, which was promising, where as part of the Amadou project in 2020, a series of activities were launched to create awareness among training departments and stakeholders working with migrants and refugees about their rights and the services that are available to them. And this was very useful in helping these stakeholders to know about what migrants and refugees were entitled to, but for the migrants and refugees as well to be able to know what rights they have and to be able to claim them. And we also found, and in relation to availability, that sometimes the rights of migrants and refugees do vary depending on the country of origin. And UNHCR's approach, the one refugee approach, is very useful in this case. And this is where they advocate for equitable treatment for all migrants and refugees, regardless of nationality. With regards to accessibility, we realize that access for migrants and refugees tends to increase when tuition is reduced or is free. However, and some of the financial barriers to access are also reduced to a range of non-governmental sources of funding. However, additional support is still required to meet other costs to participation. And in many of the UNRWA institutions, they do provide transport and accommodation for learners. And this is very helpful, especially when TVET institutions are very difficult to access. And we did also find several gaps in teacher preparation for inclusive education. And Priscilla mentioned this earlier on as well in her presentation. with regards to acceptability, we found that there have been many reforms, and there are many reforms in several countries in the Arab states to make TVET demand-driven through public-private partnerships. However, these do not appear to address the specific needs of migrants and refugees, in as much as quality TVET provision is useful for both members of the host community and the migrants and refugees. So examples of such needs include the need for relevant work experience, for example. And UNRWA TVET institutions, they try to foster job placements through partnerships with a range of stakeholders, local businesses for their learners. And that's very useful in helping the learners get work experience and to transition from education and training into employment as well. And lastly, on adaptability, I did mention that adaptability relates to the extent to which TVET can be structured to meet the unique needs of learners. And the psychosocial needs of learners is very important, in addition to information, advice, and guidance, because oftentimes they find themselves in contexts where they have to navigate very complex TVET systems and labor markets. And we did find that in many of the Arab states that TVET institutions do not have dedicated units that provide information, advice, and guidance, or career advice and counseling to learners. And at the UNRWA TVET institutions, they do have a placement and career guidance units where they provide very useful services to learners. And we did find that sometimes very unassuming practices like social activities, sports, social clubs do promote the health and well-being of learners. And there are many instances where these activities have been organized and learners have found it useful and in promoting friendly or good relationship between migrants and refugees and members of the host community as well. And some TVET institutions also do have complaint policies and mechanisms for reporting complaints, and these are very useful for the migrants and learners to be able to address any grievances or issues that they have regarding the provision that is made available to them.
As for policy recommendations, we it would be good to look at the findings and details, but it's very important to establish consensus on migrant refugee terminologies, because this across the Arab states it wasn't unified. Develop a data system for recording migrant and refugees enrollment data upon completion, because not all institutions recorded this is a migrant or a refugee, so it's very difficult to find this data out. Allocate more funding to refugee hosting in conflict-affected countries. They need extra resource for particularly guidance into admission and transport, accommodation. And also, it's very important to include non-formal and informal TVET in national and TVET strategies, because they have a wealth of experiences working on the ground. IECD in Syria, we spoke to the IRC in Lebanon. They do a lot of courses, vocational training that is not recognized, but their experience should feed into TVET strategies. And foster continuous support of promising practice. Continue to do the work that we're doing here, share the knowledge, and provide more support for future training courses on the ground. Recommendation for practice, expand access to career guidance, what's available beyond vocational education training, and after AI and what Priscilla also mentioned earlier, how we can support that, provide training that is relevant to today's world and the future career landscape, provide psychosocial support across not only for refugees and migrants, but for all learners, for youth in general. Foster partnerships between businesses, communities, and families. We have seen in our document, you can see a lot of good examples of institutions and training institutions that worked with businesses, communities, and developed a really good relationship and supported the community around them. Embed inclusion in curriculum, teacher education, and educational practices. Recommendation for research, seconding to what Reem said about having the learner's voice. I think beyond this research, it would be good to have the learner's voice feed into this type of documents. More research is needed to assess the extent which the pilot projects can be scaled. There was great work in pilot projects, UNEVOC pilot projects. More research is needed to explore the lived experiences of learning through qualitative research. There is a need for more research on practice in other inclusion, especially in the areas of accessibility, adaptability, acceptability, and adaptability. This is everything from us. Thank you very much for listening, and we are happy to take questions at the end.
Thank you so much, Haya and Joyceline, for the highlights regarding the discussion paper. And I think what people who are saying this for the first time, they are not really grasping the whole idea. And the idea today is to just give you a snippet of what the paper includes. But once you get to dig into it, you'll just get to understand much more on the context and the framework, including the scope of which this paper was developed. It's a very insightful resource, and it allows us to really think deeply regarding, are we doing enough to include refugees and migrants, especially in different regions? And with the current issues that we just spoke about regarding the inequalities that we are seeing based on different happenings, what can we do as TVET practitioners? What can we do as teachers within our classrooms? So thank you so much for these highlights and the discussion paper. And I look forward to getting more questions regarding this beyond this launch event on exactly what you found useful and areas in which you think we can improve on the next papers that we are going to publish as a follow-up on this. So thank you so much. And I also want to give this floor to one of our centers. Is actually based in the region that this research paper was developed from. And we will have to hear first from the Gaza Training Center. I will come back to you, Yusuf, in the end, but still in the same framework. I have not forgotten about you. But let's first of all hear from the Gaza Training Center within the UNRWA framework. And this is Ms. Rawya Hillis. No, it's actually Ms. Mona Al-Nabahin. Al-Nabahin, I think I pronounced it correctly. But yeah, thank you so much. And please take a few minutes to tell us your experience within the pilots.
Hello, hi everyone. Good evening. I just wanted to start by saying that Ms. Rawya Hillis was supposed to be here, but evacuation orders for her area was placed, so she had to move. She cannot be here today. Also, Ms. Manar Abu Samra, who is the senior instructor for the safety program, was supposed to be here, but she was not able to. Unfortunately, another evacuation orders for her area. So I will be stepping in for both of them, Ms. Rawya and Ms. Manar. Should you share the presentation or should I start? Priscilla, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead. We can see the presentation.
Okay, so we started the project. We targeted the female safety and hygiene graduates as their employment rates were very low in the market. So we started our project to enhance the labor market perception towards the employing of female safety and hygiene course graduates. The objective was to raise awareness. The objective was to raise awareness in the market, also to seek challenge the social norms and the perceptions that limit the participation of female graduates in safety and hygiene course. Also to increase the employment opportunities for the female graduates. The deliverables, or we were able to achieve a research report that identified the challenges that are faced by the female. We were able to prepare a toolkit for employers that provide the information, skills, abilities of the female graduates. Also, there was a resource guide for our graduates that provide them with information on how to find employment, how to negotiate salaries, how to perform in interviews. Another deliverable was that we conducted a series of workshops and presentations that provided employers and the female safety and hygiene graduates with opportunities to learn, also to network between each other. The final deliverable that we were able to perform was that we made a policy brief that outlines our recommendations on how to create a more inclusive labor market for our female graduates. As for inclusion definition for our female, it was to ensure an equal opportunities for our female graduates of safety and hygiene course to be able to participate in the labor market by addressing the cultural, institutional, and practical barriers that were faced by those graduates. For the challenges that were faced during our implementation of this project there was a difficulty of engaging the stakeholders. There was an overlapping with the summer vacation. We could not contact the graduates in the summer vacation. There was a cultural stereotype and bias limiting the female employment of our graduates, mostly due to misunderstanding of what the role of a female or a graduate from safety and hygiene is. There was a short duration for the training session. We only had a month of August. Also, there is a sustainability challenge, which is limited long-term stakeholder commitment. We could not have measured how they are going to be committed to what they promised during the workshops that were handled. As for the progress and achievement, we were able to update the content of the curriculum of the safety and hygiene course based on the recommendation of all stakeholders. We were able to gain a strong commitment from the ministry and the contractor unions, as they promised that they will have a quota for female graduates. Also, there was a training on job skills, salary negotiation. We have noticed that employers became more open to train our female graduates. There is also a network, there was a network between our graduates and the unions, the employers, the stakeholders within our community. Also, there was a follow-up plan in place to track the job and support that was promised to the female graduates in the safety and hygiene course. The final achievement that we were able to is that 2 committees were established actually to evaluate and update the study plans, also to help mobilize and advocate for mobilization and advocacy on behalf of our female graduates. And that's it from our side. Priscilla, back to you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mona, for that summary of the progress that Gaza was able to make, the Gaza Training Center was able to make within the framework of improving and promoting inclusion within your center. And thank you so much for being here today. We know the condition that is happening within the environment, and we are so lucky to have you to share your insights with us today. Thank you so much. And I think we will still continue to collect all the questions for the end. And just to continue building on this, I'm going to invite the next speaker, who is from the Iman Training Centres, also from UNRWA framework. So Ms. Iman, Abu-Lohah, you're here? Yes, fantastic.
Yeah. Good morning.
Please
How
go
are you
ahead.
doing, all of you? Yeah, nice to meet you all. I'm sorry for delay, but it seems that this is an advice for everyone here that if you make an update for the workplace Zoom, it's going to stop working your mic and your sound system. So I'm joining from my telephone. I hope this is going to be enough for you, okay? I'm going to share
Fantastic.
I'm going to share my screen, but can you grant me okay to share my screen? Can you see it?
Please share, because we had started sharing, but you can also share from your end.
Yeah. Okay. Is that okay? Yeah.
Yes,
Can
but
you make it full
put it in the
screen,
full
please?
screen. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, at Amman Training College, actually, we have a center, small center, that we have what we call the hairstyling and cosmetology section. Now, here we have students coming, at least we have, I think, almost every year, we have between 50 and 70 students, female trainees, coming from different parts of Jordan. They come here to learn this occupation. Now, this occupation is really attracting to a lot of people because, you know, if girls learn this this profession, they can really practice it in salons. They can practice it at home. Now, when we started doing this project, it was really enlightening because our students and our trainers, we discovered that unfortunately, we have a lot of information that are missing to know about our students. Most of the times, we don't know anything about our students. So the project entitled was to include and empower those disadvantaged female trainees, okay, at the hairstyling and cosmetology section at the Amman Training College. Then we started, of course, working on the project. The objective was to equip and enable these disadvantaged females the necessary tools and skills in order to enter the labor market and to become financially independent. Most of our students, unfortunately, they are really poor. They come from rural areas. They finish usually the 10th grade and they cannot really have the opportunity to join higher education institutions. So they are stuck where they are. So we are trying to help them. Another problem that we have found here that a lot of these girls usually, unfortunately, they get married very early at the ages of 16, 17, sometimes at the age of 15. Unfortunately, more to talk about, by the age of 18, they are divorced. But can you imagine if you have a girl who is only 17 or 18 years old, divorced with a child or two, sometimes with four? But this was really something disastrous. So what we had done, simple enough, that we started a study case. This was really very important to work with our students. The study case helped us in order to know everything about our students. We gave them a questionnaire. We analyzed all of the information about our students. We recognized where are really the problems that we have about our students. So we did a survey. We conducted everything to know and to have precise and adequate information. We try to know also what our students know. Even if we talk about cosmetology and hairstyling, you know that we have different sections in the department. Usually students, they don't like to do everything there. So we try to know what their skills are. And we started from there. We gave them, of course, the project started and it lasted at least for 6 months. After the 6 months, we tried to see how would our students do at the labor market. We found another problem, which was the stakeholders. Most of the times, after our students finish from the ATC, they find problem whenever they are at the labor market because the stakeholders usually they treat with them as trainees, not as professional students who have finished and they have got their diploma. Now we started another step, which is to deal with our stakeholders. We made what we call workshops. We talked to the stakeholders. We made many workshops. We understood. We made, let's say, connections between the labor market, between the stakeholders, and between our trainees to find what we call a solid ground in order for the stakeholders to really adopt our students and give them good chances in order to work. After we have finished all of this, after 6 months of practice and training at the labor market, okay, we found something else. This was really, really great. Now, when we talked about inclusion, when we started, actually, the idea was, you can say that it wasn't really clear, but step by step, when we started doing the project, we discovered something. Inclusion, it's something really great because whenever we talk about inclusion, usually we talk about minorities that are excluded. What we wanted really to do was to make them part, okay, a part in a condition when they are equal to everyone. And also we have to take into consideration the diversity of their characters, of their situations, of their backgrounds, of everything surrounding them. Also the environments they dwell in. For inclusion, usually it helps us to deal with these targeted groups in order to become essential part of the whole unit. And this also brought them welfare and prosperity. And this was really great because afterwards we have discovered that our students have really worked hard and they were capable to overcome all of the obstacles they have. At the beginning, they were unable to provide for themselves. They had problems, financial problems, social problems, many problems. At the end of the project, when we have told them that there are steps, there are challenges they have to face, also there was a problem of low self-esteem. If you know about Amman Training College, usually it is part of the higher education system in Jordan. So usually other students who study at the paramedical department or who study at the administration department, usually they finish 2 years and finally they have comprehensive exam. Then they can bridge and they can complete their bachelor degree or master degree at the universities. The students at the center, the students who study the hair and styling and cosmetology, they have no chances because they are not considered higher education. They are considered training centers. So really, they don't have any chance in completing their education. So, and most of the time, they look upon themselves as they are, below other students at the campus. But with time, by training them, by giving them a lot of self-awareness lectures, we have reached a point where they understood that they are really a very important part to the college itself, to the center itself, also to the labor market, and to their families and friends. We had really great, what we call progress. We started with 57 trainee students. By the end of the training, can imagine that 50 female trainees joined the labor market. They became professional at their specialty. Some of them they started their own projects and they have started working with other beauty salons, and this was really great. We only had 7 trainees. This is a percentage of 12%. Thus, they did not pursue any job opportunities, simple enough for different reasons. The most important reason was some of them got married and they didn't want to work. Some of them could not cope with the long hours, and some of them did not like the labor market requirements. But when we talk about 7 trainees in comparison with 57 or 50 trainees who have achieved the success, I think this was really great. This is according to our students. Now, whenever we talk about our trainers, our instructors, this was really a great opportunity for our instructors because most of the times we had a relation with our students. We dealt with them as, just you are a student, I am a teacher, and I'm going just to give you the course. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to correct my paper. I'm not going to do anything else. When we started doing the study cases, we discovered a lot of information. We could understand why our students behave in this way. We could understand that there are secrets, and these secrets became unfolded. And this was really something great that we had to learn about our students, to ask. We are not only teachers, we are mentors, we are educators, we are guidance. We have to give them guidance for our students. And this was really something great. Now we have finished this project on, I think, in October 2023. Now we have applied it through this year, and it was really a great success. Also, I would like to tell you that a lot of my colleagues who have worked with me on this project from the Department of Hairstyling, they also asked, don't we have another project? Because they have really liked the idea. It was really enlightening. It was really great. We have enjoyed. This was a really great opportunity for us, for our trainees, and also to know anything, more information about the UNEVOC and the UNESCO projects. This was really great. Thank you all for giving us this opportunity to participate, to share, and to be part, okay, in the life of our students, to make them really worthwhile. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Ms. Amin, for that, Aman, for that. I think the work that you did is going to be very instrumental in a lot of institutions, just to get to understand from a research study, to understand things beyond what is obvious, understanding your students at a more intricate way. As you said, that you started learning about some secrets that were not very obvious, and this really informs how you develop an inclusive practice and support system around this kind of data and research. So thank you so much for the opportunity to also work with you and to get insights into the challenges that your institution is facing as to promote inclusion. I think we are running out of time, and I'm asking for your patience a little bit longer so that we conclude on a few more items that we have on board. And I wouldn't want to go without listening to what our Center from the Vocational Training Corporation has installed for us from Jordan. I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome Miss Lina is here. Miss Lina, over to you.
Yes. Thank you for all of you. But I think today is not our day in VTC, because from the morning we have many technical problems, even me or engineering Yusuf. So we will make a quick brief, me for 2 minutes, and Yusuf will finish. But the things that we mentioned before, that we have a good experience with inclusive training. Even I'm showing the result that or the outcomes. You start with good things when you say we need to the positive outcomes, and this is what we mention. Yusuf is one of our trainers that we are proud, because he implements the project in Ain al-Basha. So in VTC we have our model, our business model for implement inclusive training, even in disabilities or women or refugees. From day one, analysis their need. Then after they graduate, how we attend them with the labor market. I'm proud that Yusuf will share for all of us his experience as a teacher in inclusive project that we do in Ain al-Basha. You can speak, Yusuf. Can Yusuf?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, I am Yusuf Abu Haider, agriculture engineering. Okay, I'm specializing in hydroponic and aquaponic system. I am working in a training of hydroponic and aquaponic system at VTC and Al-Basha Center. Okay, I speak in challenge and progress. Following the completion of the first phase of the project, we expanded our efforts by signing an agreement with the Ministry of Agriculture, making us officially accredited training provider, a part of the expansions. 10 a new specialization in the agriculture sector were introduced and part of the training now. Target agriculture engineering and university graduates. Additionally, an agreement was signed with the Higher Council for the Rights of Persons with Disabilities to equip all the training center to be inclusive and accessible for persons with disabilities in the first phase. 12 centers were upgraded, including Ain al-Basha Center. What makes the training in Al-Pasha particularly unique, the person with disabilities are fully integrated into the training alongside their peers, both male and female participants, including Syrian and Palestinian refugees. They make more than 20% of trainees. Although training person with disabilities require extra effort on my part as a trainer, due to the need to more time and attention. It remains a deeply rewarding experience. The number of trainers reached approximately 600, okay? Key challenge, high costs, both for delivering the training, money equipment, tool, and graduated who wish us to establish their own business. Additional time needed to repeat exercises for persons with disabilities, which also mean to use additional equipment. The training material are new and being used for the first time, which make a challenge implement. Thank you for attention.
So, just for 1 minute, we got directly to the point by saying Yusuf's experience. Today, you mentioned something also very important by saying about the positive outcomes. Also, when we are speaking about inclusive, when we are design our training, our career counseling, our participation with the private sectors, all of these, we are trying to respond the needs of all of these target group. Because of that, and next day we have many videos and image, and I think this is, I will mention as a suggestion when we finish our question and answers. We are in VTC proud to share our business model as a concept paper to all of countries in next 2 months, because I am as I mentioned before, that inclusive training and how we are being flexible for all the needs. I think it's a good experience to share with others, because today we are going from 5,000 people to more than 10,000 people in these sectors. And thank you for this chance for all of you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lina and Yusuf. I think it was quick, but we really understood what the project was about: hydroponics and promoting female participation, especially people with disability, into becoming very useful and having a very short circuit of training that led to outcomes that were positive, and you're continuing to work on that. So we look forward to getting more information on this, and even that paper that you can share, so that we share with the UNEVOC family as well. We can always learn something from everyone and from every region. Thank you so much for that. And we've been actually answering the questions that you've been sending through the Q&A function. Because of time, I don't think we will have a chance to look into the questions, but we also want to allow everyone to participate through a Mentimeter process, which is going to come up briefly shortly. And it's a chance to just tell us more about a few questions that we're going to share with you. And of course, after that, we will hear what comes next after this launch. What do we look forward to? So let's just start with the Mentimeter first, and I'm going to invite my colleague Lenny Martini to take us through the process.
Hello, everyone. I'm sharing the Mentimeter link on the chat. If you could kindly click or please join via the QR code. We have some questions for you that would like to get some opinion from you. So maybe Aldrich, please go on with the next slides. Yes, please join me in contributing to this question in one or few words. Please type, what does inclusion mean to you? I will start. For me, inclusion means learner-centered focus. Because I think one of the participants also remind us of the importance of the person, the first person adjective here about inclusion. So please also contribute to this question. What does inclusion mean to you? We will give a few more seconds to contribute. Yeah. Yes. What does inclusion mean to you? No one left behind, justice for all, equity, fairness, and bring everyone on board, of course. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Maybe we can go on with the next question, Aldrich. Yes. In the practical guide, we have a section on identifying the exclusion. Which group do you think faces the highest barriers to inclusion in TVET? We have several options here. Please choose maximum 3. People with disabilities, women and girls, people with ethnic, linguistic, religious minorities, and indigenous, migrants and refugees, people in rural areas, people with low socioeconomic background, people with chronic disease and addiction, former criminal offender, or if you have other groups. Who you think face the highest barriers to inclusion in TVET? Thank you for your contribution. Let's go to the next question, Aldrich. Thank you. Yes. And now we would like to know from you what is the biggest challenge to implementing inclusive TVET in your context. Please feel free to share with us the challenge that you face in your daily activities. Some of our speakers mentioned about the challenge from the society or the institutions or even individual challenges. Being in the rural areas, coming from the institution which with fewer resources. Yes, what is the biggest challenges or maybe unsupportive policies? Maybe the challenge coming from the culture. Please feel free to also share your opinion here. Society beliefs, social traditions, economic disadvantage. Yes, yeah. We are still waiting for your responses. Yeah, there are also contribution in the chat, awareness, infrastructures, and commitment. Yes, we do agree that the commitment from the stakeholders are really very important. And lack of specialized for training for educators. Yes. And now we are coming to the final question. Thank you, Aldrich. Now we talk about action. What is one action you will take to promote inclusion in TVET after this event? We have heard from 5 different institutions today about their pilot projects on inclusive in TVET, and we would like to know from you what is the action that you will start after this event. Do you have any ideas? If not, then maybe the question will also appear in the exit survey. So, yeah. Oh, we will still wait for, yeah, this is good. Stronger industry collaboration. Yeah, I think one of the questions in the box also mentioned about the mismatch. Take the time to understand our student needs, enhance CIFET perception to local community, understanding sort of disadvantage, and woman empowerment. Thank you. Learn about the ways to promote inclusion, raise awareness. Yeah. Give the opportunity for all qualified persons with competencies. Thank you. Implement the lesson learned in the areas, advocate inclusion. Thank you very much for your participations in this Mentimeter. We appreciate very much your opinion, and we will share the result of the Mentimeter later. So over to you back, Priscilla. Thank you.
Thank you, Lenny. And I believe we will share all this information. So if there was a PowerPoint that you wanted to follow, but it was too fast, we are going to have a chance to look at this again, including this recording of what we are discussing here today so that we can share and disseminate further within your networks. So don't be worried about the content. We are going to share just briefly in the webpage. So I think it's been an interesting, 2 hours. I think we estimated the amount of work and the amount of experiences that we needed to share. And we have crossed the deadline of the timing by almost 20 minutes. Thank you everyone for still being here with us and still being very keen and following and contributing on this. So we want to really thank you for these opportunities. We want to thank our colleagues from UNRWA. It's been a challenging task, especially with what is happening in the region. And it's been very encouraging and inspiring to see that despite all this, that you've put in a lot of work to continue promoting inclusion, continue promoting education and TVET, and really going beyond your call of duty to this. So we want to really appreciate you. And I think everyone can put your thumbs up to appreciate the UNRWA colleagues who are working a lot on the Gaza region, Lebanon, Jordan, and other Syrian regions. So thank you so much for that. We also want to take the opportunity to appreciate our authors and everyone who participated in the piloting phase. There was a lot of learning and lessons learned to even understand the concept of inclusion. And I believe this is not the stop, as Reem had said, that we are starting on this journey. The idea is for you to start somewhere and then expand and then scale up the ideas. And if you have any issues and you need support, we are always there. UNESCO-UNEVOC is there. UNRWA has opportunities. We work closely with UNHCR. There's always opportunity to get support if you really want to promote this. And this is what we want you to have a chance to do. And thank you so much for all our speakers today. Speakers have been fantastic. And there's always a lot of technical issues here and there, but we're becoming very good at this. And I believe that we got something from all this and we got to learn 1 or 2, 3 things. So from us, I think that will be the most important thing to say is thank you. But what do we look forward to next? So what is coming next? As UNESCO-UNEVOC, we still have a small budget to support almost 10 institutions on promoting inclusion within your centers. And this is going to be a chance for you, if you're interested, to just write to us and say that we would be interested in starting the journey on inclusion. You want to use the guide and you would want more support on this. So this is an opportunity, and we thank UNESCO management for allowing these opportunities within the network and beyond of anyone who wants to promote inclusion. Then the other thing is that we'll be launching soon a pedagogical training on gender responsive pedagogies. And this is the chance for you to know the future is going to be AI, the future is STEM, but girls are being left behind. So how do you ensure that the way you train, the way you include girls in different modalities within your institutions is actually up to speed to what we're seeing? How do we incorporate inclusion in this, focusing on girls? So we are going to also launch that, and we welcome everyone who is available to participate in this capacity building opportunity. And lastly, we are going to be allowing you to share your ideas. And for that, we open the floor to any ideas relating the 2 documents. Going forward, if you have any ideas on a particular area, you had examples from autistic inclusion, you had inclusion into the STEM fields, inclusion in the issues maybe related to quick learning, hydroponics, etc. So is there any idea that you would want to be supported in? This will also be an opportunity for us to pitch in and to have the chance to support everyone. And before I forget, I'd like to thank also the UNESCO-UNEVOC team that has been running in the background to make sure that this is successful. It's been a long journey, and I believe it's been a successful ending in the end. So thank you so much. And last but not least, all our participants, I could see the chat function was becoming very vibrant. We have so many messages that we'll have to go through them, and we've been answering some of these questions and messages as well. So thank you so much for always participating, always sharing your ideas, and always making these opportunities and these engagements very interactive and engaging. So without further ado, I was just looking at the time and it's almost 1 o'clock. So I think we have exhausted everything. We will leave the chat a little bit open for a few, like 2-3 minutes before we close. And for this chance, we will leave the video to play again as we exit. And thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. We are very pleased and very thankful to all of you. Thank you and see you again soon.